Hello, TCG and Lorcana enthusiasts, and welcome back to yet another Lorcana deck profile. For today, we are discussing Amethyst Steel Control. So, I originally found this deck profile while perusing TCG Player, just checking the prices of where Lorcana cards currently are from Chapter 1 to Chapter 2, where sealed booster boxes kind of are right now, where's the sealed structure decks, trying to just get a little bit of the health right now of Lorcana before, of course, we see set 3 releasing to the TCG. And a article appeared up on TCG Player, and it was an article about Amethyst Steel Control and about it being the good deck for the meta. In my opinion, I still think Amethyst Ruby is the best deck of the format right now, but I do feel we are warping the format into a lot of different deck strategies. I think like Aerial OTK actually has a good strategy, and I've seen a lot of people really talking about Resist Zoo taking up a good strategy, not mentioning we are seeing some talk about Tiana decks. The Steel Tiana, if you control no cards in your hand, your opponent can't play actions, really starting to take up the meta as well. So it really is interesting. The meta really is starting to evolve, but I really feel this Ruby Control is still the best deck of the format, but a lot of decks are starting to take that tier 1, tier 2 spot among it. But what was interesting about this deck is that typically Lorcana decks are 60 cards. For some weird reason, that deck profile they showed off was 55 cards, so I threw in 5 more cards to round out the deck. So let's do the card by card. We're running 4 Olaf as our 1-drop. We are running 4 of the Blue Fairy. Now, again, I have said these cards that when you play a Floodborn do something aren't great because there isn't that many Floodborn characters. In fact, if you look over the Floodborn set, for a set that is titled Floodborn, there aren't that many characters with the Floodborn keyword. Again, the Floodborn keyword happens to be this black boxing right here. There is actually a character in here from Chapter 1 that happens to be Floodborn, and I did not know it was Floodborn. Maybe I just skipped over it altogether. And hey, look at us. The people over at Ravensburger are already prepping all the cards for future sets. Good on them. But anyways, when you play, she has evasive, and when you play a Floodborn character, you draw a card. Again, we don't have a lot of Floodborn characters, but still that draw engine is very important for us to have. Amethyst is very good at being able to draw. We do have the Madam Him Merlin package because that is a great Amethyst package right now, so we're running for the Snake. I'm running 2 Pinocchio just to be slightly aggressive in this build. Yes, we are control, but sometimes a control deck can fall behind to more aggressive style decks like the Amber Amethyst, like Go Burr lore collecting deck that kind of runs around here and there from time to time. So I'm just going to run 2 Pinocchio. This is very easy to get back with Madam Him the Snake. Very easy to get back with Madam Him the Fox. So what you do is you play Pinocchio. If your opponent doesn't have a way to stop him, Pinocchio Quest, you gain 3. You bounce him back with one of the Madam Hims. But anyways, we have 4 Madam Him Fox. We have 4 Maleficent, just a great draw one. And we are running 3 of the Friends on the other side, so we can, of course, have her sing it and draw us 2 cards. I'm running also 2 Merlin Crab. Merlin Crab still is very good. You could probably drop this down to a 1 of, but 2 is a pretty nice. When he plays on the field and when he leaves, he gives one of your guys Challenger 3. So again, we are a control deck, so it's not a bad idea for us to go in with that Challenger. Giving it to Madam Him, giving to Merlins, either the Merlins, because again, we kind of want these Merlins to die so they can trigger their effects like Goat and Rabbit. So it's not all bad, not mentioning that Big Tinkerbell is in here, so giving that power buff to Big Tinkerbell isn't bad, so she can run over stuff. Even if she dies, she can still give that 2 damage to anything else on our opponent's side of the board. So I'm running 2 here for just giving that extra power buff just so we can play that control package. We are running 2 of the little Tinkerbells. You could buff this up to 3 easy. I would say a 3-4 package of 3 little Tinkerbell, 4 big Tinkerbell, just so you can have a reduced cost of getting the shift. 1 less cost to get into Big Tinkerbell. We're running 4 Merlin Goat, 4 Merlin Rabbit, draw a card, gain a lore on play, and when it leaves, we're running 4 of the Beast. This is really good, folks. I know he's very expensive right now out of Rise of the Floodborn, but folks, he's just so strong. He quests for 2, and if he is undamaged, he basically draws you an extra card on your draw step. He is drawing you 2 cards per turn. Again, I've said there is the other card like Donald Duck for Emerald that does the exact same thing. On your turn, you and your opponent get to decide whether or not you want to draw. Typically, that gives your opponent a card. Here, we don't have to give our opponent a card. Not mentioning that we do quest for 2, so if we do have the ability that our opponent's board is pretty much clean and they can't deal damage to us, we could quest that turn to gain 2 lore. We are running at 3 of the 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐘. This 𝐒𝐓𝐃 easily chains with the Merlins here, the goat, the rabbit, the crab, so that they can spin them back. We can draw 2 cards, and we can trigger their leave effects. If we have our beast, we know we don't want fully damaged or out of the board, we can spin it back with 𝐒𝐓𝐃. We can also spin back annoying targets on our opponent's side of the board with 𝐒𝐓𝐃. Mind you, our opponent will get to draw the 2 cards. We will not be able to draw those 2 cards, but still, the ability to, in essence, just remove a whole bunch of things out of our opponent's field or remove stuff from our field so we can trigger effects and protect our cards isn't bad overall. We're running 4 of the big Tinkerbell, which happens to be Floodborn. For some reason, I never realized it. And Elsa happens to be Floodborn. We're running 3 Elsa. Talk about a card from Chapter 1 that was like $100 or $80 when Chapter 1 first dropped into the TCG. She's now 15. Way better overall. Way better. But I did not realize these 2 were actually Floodborn. Well, I guess I'm not all that smart. But anyways, yeah, we're running 3 Elsa. Again, we don't have our little Elsa. You could put the little Elsa in here as well if you want to be able to shift much faster into big Elsa. But anyways, she comes down on 8. If Blue Fairy's up, we get to draw, and we also get to stun 2 of our chosen characters so they don't unexert. So overall, a really good card. I think it's still really good, especially in a format where Merlin goats and Merlin rabbits and stuff all over the place is appearing, and aggro decks are still running around. We kind of maybe we want to do with Amethyst Ruby control. This deck card is still very good. We are also running for songs. 3, Friends on the Other Side. 3, Let the Storm Rage On. 2, Strength of a Raging Fire. And 4, Grab Your Swords. So overall, this is about as common as you should have for a new version of Amethyst Steel Control. We're playing a good amount of the good Amethyst cards. We're playing some of the good Steel Control cards. But let's talk about some of those cards you can swap out, because clearly, as you can see here, besides, of course, a lot of the stuff, the most expensive cards you're getting into are Beast, Tinkerbell, and Elsa. Everything else is relatively cheap. Per its cards, like Grab Your Swords came out of one of the structure decks. So if you got like 2 of the structure deck, I think 2 of the steel structure deck from Chapter 1, you have 4 Grab Your Swords, and you actually will get playsets of all the other cards you need. So overall, I kind of think you kind of need still Tinkerbell. She's just so good for steel. If you don't want to run the Beast, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing saying you can't run the Beast in here. But if you're tight on your budget, I would say throw in another friends you got on the other side. Maybe throw in like some brooms for some more control aspects. Throw some of those good steel control cards in there as well, like Robin Hoods if you need to deal with some damage. Find some other good steel like heavy cards that can quest you a lot of lore. Maybe you want to play cards in here that deal with the Popsicle Engine like Binja and the original Beast from Chapter 1. But down here, Elsa, I don't think you really need Elsa. We have a lot of other Amethyst cards. They can do stuff, and if you wanted to play more aggro, maybe getting some more Pinocchios in there. What else could you... From like some of the original set stuff, since we're going to be drawing a lot of cards, Jafar is not bad to play in a deck strategy. Maybe you want more control, Rafiki, Pascal. If you don't want to play the Beast, the Queen is a good substitute because it's a 5/5. Now the Queen does have to tap herself to use that ability, but that's still very good. Maybe you want Befuddle to spin something back. The Mirror does pay you 4, but does get you a draw. You can use Zeus for control because he is a challenger. You could even buff that up with the Crab so that you could be challenger 7. But yeah, I mean, another steel cards, maybe you want to go Cinderella line, the Cinderella to the big Cinderella, Binja, like I said. And what else could you could play the Queen of Hearts. You could put Tiana in here if you want to play some real good control, because if you want to lower your draw engine down so you're burning more and more cards, you're not really having all these cards in your hand, this one's good. Maybe you want the Huntsman for that more aggressive style of also being able to draw and discard one. That's a very good card overall. Namari is good if you want more control because she can come down. She's a bodyguard, but not mentioning that she can attack unexerted characters on her turn. Ursula, if you want to steal some lore and just control that way. Smash from the original Steel, the deal 3 damage to opponent's characters if you need more damage output there. That's really it. If you wanted to play more, spend more stuff, maybe you want to play more slightly aggressive control, Arthur is not a bad choice either, because again, he can quest. He spends, say, your goat, your goat, or your rabbit, or even any of the Madam Him stuff, and you just gain 2 lore. And basically, in essence, he gains you 3 lore a turn, and maybe you can then bounce him back to your hand with another Madam Him buck, so you can control board state. But there's a lot of stuff you can do with this deck. Again, just change out the strategies to how you feel the deck is going, and change out some of the cards if you need to be on a tighter budget altogether. Anyways, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on this Amethyst Steel control deck. Let me know what cards you'd play, what cards you change out, what cards you're excited for that you've seen from the 3rd set into the Inklands that you want to throw into this deck strategy, and all of that. And while comedy, do make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you get notified when my videos go live for you. And we'll see you here next time on Mama Dragon's TCG.